So, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Just to be helpful, if it's helpful to anybody who's dialing in today, my name's Lee Smith. I'm the founder of Impact Match, and I have blonde hair today. I have normally big glasses, but I've got round glasses on today, and I've got a black jumper on, and I'm getting a bit hot actually because of the lovely weather. So it's a pleasure to meet you all. And today we have on our call the amazing panelists chaired by our fantastic chair, who is Puja, who I will introduce to you in a moment. And we're also joined by our fantastic BSL interpreters, Adam, and shortly you will be meeting Gloria as well. So thank you so much for joining us. So what do we do? Really, really quickly, I think you all know this by now, but we are an end-to-end social impact partner, work with the most amazing clients because we say no to the ones that are not ethical. And so we have the real joy of being able to create real work joy for us as a team. And we're so energized by these sessions that we run. And we do these free of charge for the benefit of our community so that you're all able to get access to amazing debates. You can join the debates and get to meet some other amazing impact makers. So in the chat, please do share as you go on. And during the course of this call, all of our panelists have got LinkedIn profiles. So please do feel free to follow our amazing panelists and our chair, Puja, as well. And our vision is really simple in that we want to live in a world where every organization, every leader generates measurable social impact, because we believe that every organization and every leader can do that. And we deliver the plan, people, partnerships, and support to make that happen. And our three main services are strategy, talent, and comms. And you, the amazing impact community, we're growing by the second. So even just after 18 months, we've already got 6,000 of you that dial into these calls, that we meet at events, and that we refer for speaking events and what have you. So please do get involved if you haven't followed us yet on Impact Match on LinkedIn as well. That's a great place where we tend to hang out. So thank you so much for joining us. And today we have got the amazing chair, Puja Patel. I was introduced to Puja by Sackett, who I've known for about 15 years. And when he said that we would get on, boy, was he right. So Puja, we don't stop talking for any of you that know how busy I am talking. So Puja's amazing. She's the head of strategic programs and universities at Santander. And I had honestly no idea of the scale of the impact this woman creates. And Puja's been in banking, and investment banking and asset management and retail financial services for 15 years. And there's nothing she doesn't know, I promise you, about the financial services sector, which is fabulous for impact to be able to unlock all of those amazing assets for good. And Puja's had a really good cross-sector career within the regulatory environment, which is really quite complex, and is also an expert on AI-driven risks as well as trade finance. From an impact point of view as well, Puja is also a much loved trustee for both the Scouts and also Idea Foundation, where we've got Polly today, who's the CEO of the Idea Foundation as well. So it's wonderful to have those on our panel today. And also Puja, you might want to ask Puja about this in the chat, is also in the early stages of launching a pasta sauce business. So maybe after a bit of a Brooklyn Beckham kind of thing there going on with his business, I'm not sure. But I met Puja last year, I think it was.
It was last year, yeah.
Yeah, and Puja's also, as well as the university program, which is huge, and other strategic programs. Puja also runs the Impact Awards, which are Santander X Awards, which for those of you that don't know are just like off the scale in terms of impact. So I'm delighted that Puja could join us today. So over to you, Puja, if that's okay, to introduce the panel, and I will unusually be quiet and go on silent.
Thank you, Lee, for all those kind and amazing words. If I ever need a boost of confidence, I know who I need to call and speak to. Firstly, everyone, welcome, and thank you for taking your lunch hour to come and listen to us and get some insights from us, and also for us to learn and listen to you guys in terms of the questions that come through. Just a little bit about me. In terms of me, I've got shoulder-length brown hair. I've got a really summery dress on, although it looks like I've just got a black jumper on. And I've tried to be in line with the colour, and I've got my funkier green glasses on, just so that I am aligning to everything that Lee and the magical team are doing from an impact point of view. So first and foremost, I think it is imperative for us to understand and learn a little bit more about the panelists that we have on today, because they all provide such a variety of in-depth knowledge but expertise in terms of the topic that we're talking about today. So if I can go in no particular order, but can I go to Tom first to provide an introduction before we move on to the real juicy questions?
Hi, thanks, Puja. I'm Tom Simpson. I'm the founder and CEO of Starting Point. I've had a 20-year career nearly, I know I don't look old enough, within recruitment and technology, taking products from conceptual ideas to market. I have a huge passion for inclusion, mobilising like tomorrow's workforce and making young people feel valued. You can't see how short I am because I'm sat down. I'm about 5'7"-ish. And I have no hair whatsoever. I shave it all off. I've got a black and grey beard and glasses, which are almost the same as Lee's. So I don't know if I've got girls' glasses or not. Lee's got men's glasses, but we'll go from there.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Tom. Passing over to you, Polly.
Thanks, Puja. Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Polly Morgan. I have got kind of quite long blonde hair. I'm wearing square glasses. I didn't get the memo about the green glasses. And I've got a white sort of summery top on, which I'm very happy about putting on today because I don't think I've got this one out of the cupboard for at least a year. I lead IDEA Foundation, which stands for the Inspiring Digital Enterprise Award. We're a charity here to help everyone master skills that matter, earn recognition that opens doors, and ultimately harness tech as a force for good. So through idea.org.uk, learners work on bite-sized interactive modules, and as they complete them, they collect points and earn digital badges, which then stack and build towards bronze, silver, and gold award certificates. It's completely free, and right now, someone earns a digital badge on IDEA every 15 seconds. We've reached 2.5 million learners so far across just over a third of UK state-funded secondary schools, and I am just thrilled to be here talking with everyone today.
Thank you, Polly, and I love that introduction. It means so much, not only I know for you, but also for me in terms of what I've got to learn about you guys in the organisation. Passing over to Nasser.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nasser Siabi. My 60s, rather bland description, grey hair, palish face, and a white shirt. I think that's as exciting as I get. I'm from Southampton, sunny Southampton, and my background is my garden. That's where we've been working for the past 6 years, 18th of March 2020, where we got the marching orders to come work from home, and I haven't returned back to the office. I do go occasionally to check on my staff. Anyway, I'm from Microlink. Microlink is a company established in 1992. We've helped hundreds of thousands of disabled learners and employees using such cool technologies that we can enable them to do the work they can't do because of their condition. So that's what we do, is empowerment, and all the way to recruitment, all the way to placement, as well as retention. This is what our speciality for people with disabilities.
Thank you for that great introduction. And as you can tell from the panelists, we've got a real variety of depth of knowledge. And before we get into the most important parts of the questions and the answers, I just wanted to say something that I had listened to. It's actually this morning. And we're talking about AI and the importance of AI. And everyone always talks about, well, is it just for the youth, and can they get a job, and what's going to happen to everyone? And something that the chairwoman of Santander said this morning at an event I was at is that it's not going to be, let's not view AI in the way of it's going to take over, it's going to destroy everything. Let's start changing the cultural shift of it becoming something that everyone can use. And the more that you use it, the more that you become comfortable with it. And how does that then adapt to you in terms of the career and the choices that you want to make? And that just resonated really nice for me, in the sense that it's not always doom and gloom, and there are lots of good things about it. And sometimes it's just a lot nicer to focus on some of those things. So to move on to the questions and the sections that we talked about, very much around recruitment, AI, and how does that impact in terms of hiring and future skill sets. So the very first question that I've got for Tom. Now, how do you think is the right way to get the balance between the automation, the human element within the recruitment process? How do we make it fair? And what kind of guardrails do you think we need to have in place to make sure that it represents all of society to ensure that you get the right person for the right role?
Thanks, Puja. Like, I think this is like the pivotal part of the use of AI. In my 45 years, we haven't seen technology go backwards yet. So we're going to use it, we're going to embrace it. It's just about that being done ethically and correctly. Something that I think is really, it just doesn't seem well known is that like AI comes with inherent bias because it comes from the information that is put into it. So I think like really, really frequent bias audits and continuous monitoring to check that like there is no disparity from the represented groups, not just at the point of launch, but over time. That needs to be a regular thing because the information, the data model is constantly changing. There needs to be representative like training data within it. So it really makes sure that the people using it are getting fair and balanced information from it. Ultimately, there needs to be human oversight on decision making. I think it's okay to use AI and technology around automation. But I saw a report yesterday of people getting rejection emails within 35 seconds of an applicant on the basis of like an AI yes or no. Yeah. And I just think that's where we need to be really, really careful. There still needs to be transparency. There still needs to be the ability to give somebody a clear explanation of why processes and decision making has happened, and that design and governance around that needs to be from the perspective of inclusivity. The upside of that is what I'm personally seeing a lot is a real move to what AI can't do, which is produce neurodiverse people who have incredible thought processes and hyper focus to really go after certain information. So in my area, I've seen almost a rise in people asking, as politely as possible, if somebody is neurodiverse and can they, and as a positive thing rather than as a problematic piece. And also, I think it's using technology and using AI doesn't remove accountability. And I think what we really need to make sure is that the person who's ultimately responsible is accountable for the data model that they use. Because I think what you then end up with is somebody who has their hand on that guardrail and makes sure nothing's getting out of hand. So I think like accountability and reflection, constant monitoring, and bias audits are crucial. I think that will be the key part to it.
Great, cool. And how disheartening if you're an individual that spent that period of time, whether it's uploading a CV, answering the questions, and the time at which, I know it's taken efficiency to a different degree of a yes or a no. So I think there's such a bigger impact on that one. And so leading into the concepts around education, educators, employees, and how you can get equal opportunities in terms of accessing the AI tools. Polly, in terms of your experience in digital learning and how the impact is for young people with AI and the technology behind that and linking that to education and recruitment, what are your thoughts around that space? How early do we need to start? How can we support the children, the future really? But how do we also support the individuals and the teachers and the recruiters that are having to play such a key role in this?
I think we should be starting as early as possible. Just like don't start talking to people about careers when they're 15, 16. Let's start right the way back, back as far as primary. But I think educators and employers, all of us, I think we kind of need to think beyond who has the latest tool and think about who's actually building the understanding, confidence and the relevant skills as well. Because right now, access is really patchy, and we hear from schools who are doing loads and others who are really comparatively doing hardly anything at all in terms of AI literacy and AI skills and access to AI tools. One thing actually I do want to mention was in about 5 months ago, we surveyed 10,000 students who were taking part in IDEA on their thoughts about AI, and where they were at in terms of their knowledge and skills. And 74% of them said that they get most of their AI knowledge from social media, not from schools, not from family, not from friends, not really from teachers. And I think that goes to show that actually there's a lot that we need to do, but also what we see, on IDEA is that we see every day that people are really curious, capable and ambitious when given the chance, really with anything. So I think our role is to make digital and AI era learning free, accessible and motivating.
Great shout on that one. Making it accessible, motivating, using it in a positive way, and trying to not per se suppress some of the negative press that's out there, but embracing that and knowing how to use it. And so that probably puts me pertinent onto the next question, Nazir, to you, in terms of there are so many AI tools out there. I'm going to say I've got a Copilot, ChatGPT. There's all sorts of things that I am learning from it. But from your perspective and what you've seen and come across, how can these tools really support young people that are entering a career whereby it's all around, quite a lot, around the digital side of things, particularly neurodivergent individuals? So how do we make it accessible for all?
Well, very good question. Firstly, neurodiversity has been recognized more these days than the past, and it's something to do with COVID, but certainly it's rather prevalent. According to some numbers, 1 in 3 of children coming out of education have neurodivergency. That is basically now, whether they have or not, it's irrelevant. The impact is real. So accessibility is a legal requirement. So let's talk about every individual has the right to access the digital platforms. That's not the case in our economy. There's a huge gap, digital gap between those who can access information and those who can't. And that is, according to several countries' laws, is illegal. The problem is there's not enough professionals to make all these systems. It's a kind of a retrofit. That's where the young people could come in. One, children are being exposed to AI. So education of AI is not about teaching them how to use them properly. It's to educate them not to use the bad AI. Because if you see their social media, there's so much fake, deep fake in there. If they don't know, they will believe it. So it's just like going to McDonald's for your guidance on nutrition. I mean, children will love it, but that's not the best thing for them. So I think we need to be careful to be overprotective of children who are exposed to it, and in education, we're not letting them try it properly. But the other thing is accessibility is something that has been missing in the past because the tools weren't really good enough. The AI makes it possible. You can actually have problems with reading and writing, as a lot of young children coming out of education with no qualification always struggle to write a CV. Well, you can do that on ChatGPT in 10 minutes. Of course, you get a rejection in 35 seconds because you have to teach them how to personalize it. It's not like that in the AI, it's using how to use the AI properly. And so the accessibility aspect is something that it's made a huge transformation. Whereas previously children who struggled with reading and writing, whether they called it they were lazy or they weren't really paying attention or was dyslexia, that meant they could not progress. Now you could actually give them the tool and they will progress. So I think it's quite exciting, but equally, as someone said, people are not going to lose their job to AI, but they will lose their job to people who use AI. So the thing is, do we use the tools and do we teach them enough? And more importantly, how do we empower the parents and the teachers to do this right? Because they feel out of their depth, things are changing too rapidly, and the children seem to know more about them than they do. Hence, they kind of they've got the guards up, said, no, you shouldn't be learning. It's not safe for you. Well, I think that's that's changing. The government's announced a lot of new programs to teacher training, which will bring AI. But for the people who are in industry, we really have to look back and say, what can we do to nurture these young learners to be able to use the AI in a proper way? because that would define the future, the destiny, everything they do. And I think that's a really difficult time to do when there's so much noise around AI.
And I think it's so lovely that all of you have talked about your views, your thoughts, policies, the right thing, what you've experienced, what you've come across. I think people always go, well, how do we actually apply this? How can we make this a reality? How can we measure it? What does success look like to then be able to change the negative myth into something really positive? So, Polly, over to you in terms of everything that IDEA has. And you've mentioned the digital badges and the micro learnings or credentials. Sorry, let me get the right phrase. How do you think this helps young learners in the era that we're about to enter versus the traditional qualifications that have been in our society for multiple years?
I mean, it's not necessarily an either or, but what digital badges and specifically micro credentials help is they help make skills visible. And so they allow people to show what they can actually do, not just the subjects they sat. And that can be especially powerful for learners or people whose strengths may not be fully reflected through those traditional routes. Teachers are telling us that IDEA enables them to make sure that every student can leave school with the digital skills they need for their future and the recognition of those skills, completely free. But that's not, it's not just the students that are doing computer science or computing at school. But I think, so the real power actually comes from when employers recognise them. And by that, I mean the digital badges and micro credentials. And there is growing recognition of that, but we need more. Because once that recognition is in place, then what happens is those badges, they become part of a really genuine pathway into opportunity, not just the pipeline building that we have through IDEA, but they actually start to open even more doors. And I think for employers, it's incredible because you get a much more granular look at somebody's skills. And oftentimes, because certainly on IDEA, the people are earning their digital badges, not through what a traditional education route. So a lot of the time it is self-directed learning. And so you can see that if somebody is exploring a genuine interest that they have that kind of ability to keep learning, that lifelong learning, that adaptability, that curiosity. So I think it's also further evidence that they are good people to hire. Like, these are the people you want on your team, the people who are going to be able to upskill themselves, who are curious, who are kind of switched on and interested in doing that learning. And so I think that's what the badges do, for employers. And then again, also for people who are earning the badges, a brilliant way to see yourself and start to make sense of, if it's certainly on a platform like IDEA where you're dipping in and out of modules and earning badges in kind of topics that interest you, you can start to see how those build up towards other opportunities, other careers, other things can emerge from that. And everybody loves earning a badge, right? And so you'll know from your work with Scouts as well. It's a really good confidence booster. You can put them on LinkedIn, put them on your CV, put them on your email signature.
Yeah, and I was just thinking what you're talking about in terms of the curiosity and the learning. It's making it easy, but the ones that really do want to, there are tools and ways of doing it and ways of rewarding, not necessarily by a certificate or looking at what the traditional education system was, which I think is lovely. And this feeds in really nicely to a question that I have really for you, Nasser. You are shaping the Level 4 Digital Accessibility Apprenticeship. That's a bit of a mouthful for me, so hopefully we can change that to some degree and make it a bit more snappier. But to the heart of it, what are organisations most underestimating in terms of the skills gap? Because there's a lot of things that Polly talked about where it is how the younger generation might be looking at it, how they get rewarded and how that develops and grows. But if you're somebody that's a little bit further in your journey, what is it that this is going to support them, and how do you see this vision going further to actually tackle the things that we talked about at the beginning of this discussion?
Thank you for that. Thanks. That's an important question. We know from government data the unemployment among the young is sky high. It's the highest ever been. And worse still, it is much higher among the disabled learners, people who've had conditions like neurodiversity, dyslexia, ADHD, and autism. And there's a regulation and law that you have to be accessible, but not many people have learned how to do it over the past, and they've not done it properly. And these cohorts are ideal for that, because not only they like the job, it's a lot attention to detail, they're hyper-focused on one thing, so they got their spiky profile, they can actually be super focused on fixing a particular problem, not stereotyping, but some people are very, very good at it. And they need a career path for it. And because employers are looking for them, they don't know they exist. There was no qualification. So the government of some of the stakeholders came up with a digital accessibility for apprenticeship level 4, which is, again, it's a training. You become a practitioner, you do the audits and remediation, and also even build accessible platforms. That's just been finalized to roll out. There is one or two pilots have been very successful. So we could really attract those cohorts who have really absolutely no prospect of getting an employment, bring them in, get them to do that. And there are plenty of employers who would absolutely love to employ them. They just need to know they exist, because the biggest complaint we have with this, employers, because I'm on a disability confident steering group, employers says we can't find the disabled candidates when we need them. So all the shenanigans about AI for your recruitment, and very difficult platform, it's not accessible. Of course, you miss them. So they want to do better. So this qualification would do it. There's another cohort which are extremely good, valuable. You don't believe me? Ask GCHQ. People with autism, or at least with the ASD, they are extremely good at recognizing patterns that happen to be in cybersecurity. So again, another skill gap, and another group that are highly unemployable with the current standards because of the recruitment problems. We could actually get them into those. So again, that's another area that we could definitely do better, having the digital skills certificates or training and learning, so that they can get into employment. So these are really important, exciting times for them. And it really suits the young now, because digital world they really are now much into it than the past generation. I think we could actually harness that talent very quickly by making sure that technologies are accessible to every user, not just to the 80% population that we used to be.
And I think it's just interesting times for all areas, for all sectors, for all ages, for all people. So it's community, society as a whole. And so if there were people that were in a scenario, and I think the next one, I'll probably put the next question either both to Tom and Polly, or both of you can answer in your own way on this one, is how do we, we've analysed what the problem is and how we could potentially fix it. We've got some great examples of data and how we can make it a reality, and we've checked that this does work. We've then got Nasser that's talking about working on policies and government and trying to get that shift and moving it in the right direction. But then there's a large proportion of people that are going to deal with recruiters. So when you're in this environment, what would you say? And maybe Tom, if I go to you on this one, what are you doing differently, or what do you know recruiters are doing when they partner with people to be able to identify that they get the right candidate and that there's a measurement of success in this?
So, firstly, I think if I just touch on something just briefly, I think one of the things that Polly mentioned around that engagement of like badges, the idea of people like micro-learning, like people want engaged people, don't they? Like people who can frequently re-engage over and over again with different things. It's such a positive trait. To see more of that is like such an amazing thing. And that's why ID is so amazing for young people, because it's that micro-learning is actually can be so much more important than on a vast scale. I think to answer your question, when we're working with partners as a recruitment company and knowing a lot of people who have recruitment companies, you always know people in your own industry, the joy for a recruiter who doesn't practice ethically is to be sent a 2-page document, like a Cyber Essentials type of document, for them to be able to fill in, where they can take the time over and think about what answers you want to hear. Whereas what I would say for large organizations to pick their partners is to actually have a conversation and get live responses on a live, Teams or Zoom or Google Meet platform where you can then go back and review that. Because we live in a world where people get so able to manipulate data using things like ChatGPT, and things like that, to be able to tell you exactly what you need to hear. To be able to do something live takes away the ability for that. So I think actually slowing down and taking that little bit of time initially to understand that people are approaching this from the right thing. They're not just saying it, because it's really easy to say what needs to be said. It's different to act in that way, rather than sending a document over. So can you just let me know you do these things and then sign it at the bottom, please? Well, like, they're never going to answer other than what you need to hear.
Yeah.
Because that's almost the nature of our commercial world, isn't it? Just say what it needs to be said and then sign it and send it. Whereas if you actually get an understanding and real world examples live of, when have you used this process before? Like, what is your process of inclusivity? How are you going to let people be aware of the things that people might want to know, what an area looks like when they arrive, what it sounds like, or would they be meeting? How do you facilitate the idea of things like BSL and things like that? How is that going to be dealt with? If that's a live conversation, they have to go on lived experience, which is much harder for them to blow.
It's that balance between going to the accountability and what that actually is, and the outputs and the successes. But it's also, it just brought another idea in the sense that it's looking at and conventional, if you think about deliveries, it's a supply chain. But when you're looking at this, it's like, how is the knock-on effect and all the other elements? So if AI is being used in one way in one part of it and differently in another, it's that consistency holistically to make sure you then get that fair outcome, which is becoming, well, I don't think we're there yet, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't be having these conversations, but it's how do we actually get to that point to some degree?
Yeah, and I think it's about like understanding as well, isn't it? So like, it's do they understand? Because there'll be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of recruitment companies that don't understand that AI is inherently biased. And they actually will never know that unless somebody sits down and talks to them about why AI is inherently biased. And so it's making sure that happens in, I think, in a meaningful way, which is not just a tick box exercise. It's not tokenistic. It's not so someone can just pop it on the tray of, right, well, that's my plausible deniability done. And change in action.
Yeah, no, fair point. Coming to you, Polly, on this one, going back to, I know we're talking about recruitment firms, but it does talk about start at a much younger age. So from an AI point of view, how do you think it can support young people from underserved communities that may not follow traditional career routes? I know we've talked a little bit about in terms of the microlearning, etc., but what do you think in terms of that additional lens? What role do you think AI could really help?
Yeah, I think, I mean, AI, but I would say it's not just AI. Generally, what we see, and kind of going back to like the whole premise and reason for why IDEA came to be, is like, we see that technology and digital skills more broadly, including AI, allow people to actually leapfrog their situation and build a better future. It's this idea, talent is everywhere and opportunity is not. And if you can learn to harness this stuff, then, it is remarkable. Like, you can change your life, you really can. And that is what's really exciting. And so what we're really doing with IDEA is trying to really inspire that next generation of innovators and entrepreneurs who are going to build, better businesses and create a better future for all of us. But I just also want to just go back to something that Nasser was saying earlier, which is just kind of reminded me in my head, I'm dyslexic, and I remember just the huge difference, like life-changing difference it made at school when I was able to type my exams instead of writing them. And that didn't happen for me until, I can't remember how old I was. I think it was when I was doing my A-levels. But all of a sudden that barrier between what I knew and what I could show people I knew was lowered, like from here to here. It was just amazing. And I think, and other people have spoken about this as well, but AI is like that now, but on a whole new level. And that's what's super, super exciting. and I think actually it is, for those of us who think and learn differently, or where brains work a bit differently, it is super extraordinary and really exciting. But I'll just say again, I come back to this, if we don't make sure that everyone has access to that foundational learning, because we've got to have kind of the skills and the confidence to use it to make it work for you as a tool, so that you still get output which is human driven at the end of it. So, then we run the risk that the very gaps that things like AI has the potential to close are the ones that will widen if we don't solve this problem quickly. And actually, there's some evidence now, fresh evidence from Future.now. I was at an event with them a couple of days ago, which says that only 45% of the UK labour force can do all 20 of the work tasks and the essential digital skills. And that's actually dropped from 48%, which was the number from last year. So I don't want to end it here because that's a bit doom and gloom, but it just goes to show that the gap, is potentially getting worse. So we've got to act.
I agree. So now maybe actually that's perfect timing, Nazira, if I can come to you. You've talked about historically, apprenticeship, policy works, etc., to get that balance around real employment opportunity for a variety of all people, disabled people, whichever category that they may belong into. But for that to really occur and to tackle the point that Polly just made based off a conference that she went to a couple of days ago, what is it that we need to do in terms of better design training, or what do organisations need to do to really optimise this tool that we have to address what's missing, but then still connect all the talent that we have to then really achieve the outcome? Then it doesn't matter what organisation it is, considering how many times people may change their career or have multiple careers on at the same time, because that's a great thing around how society is evolving. So what do you think that we can really do, or that organisations need to do to make this a real reality for us?
Very, very good question again, Puja, because failure starts in education. When we emphasize success on maths and English, and large cohorts don't really have the skills for the literacy because of their condition, and Polly just mentioned dyslexia, then we'll make them fail, and then we'll make them feel they are not good enough, and we make them feel they're not basically going to succeed, so don't waste your time. Stop that happening by giving them the tools to be able to communicate. You don't all have to be English playwrights. Some want to be historians. They don't need to be able to write. They can actually use tools to do the writing. What we want their brain is to understand, analyze history, rather than how good they are in writing the whole thing. Because I remember way in 1993, I helped a guy called Alexander Fludi. He was 15, the youngest ever person to go to Cambridge to do a degree in history of art. He couldn't spell his name. He was so profoundly dyslexic.
Wow.
He's become very successful. So we need to make sure the teachers recognize children who are struggling. It's not because they're lazy, because their parents don't care about their education. Find out why they can't do it and give them the right tools to do it. And AI makes that possible. The second thing is you're giving them confidence that they are capable. And that means the sky's the limit. They will come out of education, find their thing, because they all do. But if they've got the confidence and the right tools, they go to any job and they succeed. The third is, you're right about this recruitment barrier is huge for especially for the young. I know that AI becomes so blocking to the position. I had this young fellow saying, I've been rejected in 4 interviews because I wasn't looking into the camera because he's autistic. And they rejected him straight away. So, of course, these are the kind of things you need to remove. It's not difficult. We just need to change the mindset. The government is now recognizing they can't deal with the special needs using medicalized model of EHCP. We've got to find out what can we do to make those children not to fail. And they're coming back to the same thing, technology. And technology, assistive technology, as well as AI, not only it will boost the performance of those children, it also lifts everybody else up at the same time. It's not like just helping 20-30%. It helps 100% of the population. So that's a focus is now going back to education, but it's going to take a long time for that to filter through. When it comes to employment, employers do have jobs. There's not have any doubt about it. That's why we've got such a sky-high immigration numbers. There are jobs. There's just not enough candidates in UK film. You can help those. I have actually worked with a company who's got AI tool for talent recognition. You don't have to answer questions. You don't have to do any psychometric tests. You play a game for about 15 minutes, and it can tell you what you're best in at among the million candidates by looking at your profile. Saying, oh yeah, you're suitable for legal, you're suitable for accounting, you're suitable for technical, based on the cognitive ability. These are possible, but they have to be used in that kind of a context to find the best talent.
And what an amazing tool to know about, because I was just going back many years ago to when I was at school going, what would my career choice be? Absolutely. And I can say confidently that what I chose as my first career choice versus what I'm doing now are very different. I've gone from the healthcare, which I thought that was the way forward, to something else only because of a report that was written based upon my exam scores. Right. And that had nothing to do with me as a holistic person and all the other elements. So, you know, I think all of you on the panel have given us so many insights and food for thought around this topic, and that it's not just all about doom and gloom, but using it in the right way. And also that people think around not just from a point that you might be looking for a career change or looking for a job, but much younger in your timeline, and getting that balance between what children are doing, what parents can do, what training can be. So to ensure that we've got enough time for questions, I'm going to ask a final one question to all of you, and I suppose it's your 30 seconds response so that we can cover off questions, is what practical advice would you give someone that's entering the workforce or looking for a changing career in this digital world that they would need to think about, like really, really quickly, and go, I need to do this, this, and this. And that's going to then lead to maybe not the success in the first time, but getting them further ahead in their journey of whatever they may be looking for. So Nasser, I'll come to you first.
You've got to actually tell young people, first, give them confidence. That is really important. They don't have confidence. Secondly, tell them, what do you really want to do? Most people don't know because they've not had the confidence to think they can achieve it. Once you know what they want, then there are jobs out there, and make sure employers advertising them and accepting people who have the talent to do them. There are plenty of tools where you could assess somebody's ability. There are plenty of tools how to make those individuals, like, micro learning, and to acquire the skill. What we don't currently have, employees open doors saying that, yes, we will do it differently. Lots of recruitment companies will pick up the easy pick and give it to the employers, instead of employees saying, actually, no, I'm looking for a different, diverse kind of recruitment. Some are doing it, but not everyone. We really need to get them to see beyond the current, what's available, and look at the untapped potential, which is among the lots of people out of work because they can't get into employment.
Great, thank you for that answer. Polly, same question.
I mean, everything Nasser just said, plus free learning exists. Grab it, take hold of that opportunity, and don't stop trying. Stay curious, keep learning.
Great response. Tom?
I'd just take it on maybe from the next step from Nasser, in the sense that it's not necessarily what you want to do, but why you want to do it.
Yeah.
Like a better understanding of self, a better understanding of passion, a better understanding of what makes you who you are and why you want to get where you want to get. But from anybody entering the job market now, I would be proud of who you are, and that starts with what you like. We get better results from applicants who unashamedly talk about things they're disgustingly passionate about, be that music, Lego, traveling, pets, animals. Have something that you can almost hang your hat on. That's what I like, because the challenge with automation processes, it removes personality. if you can make yourself memorable, you'll never be rememberable for your exam results because there's only 4 differentiations on them, usually 5 to 9. You'll never be memorable for having a degree because if you're going for a graduate job, everyone's got one, and they're really only first 2 1s, 2 2s. So make yourself memorable on the basis of your interests and your passions, because that's what makes you become a candidate and not a CV.
Great. Thank you so much. Now, I think we've got 10 minutes, if I'm right by my clock, to answer some questions.
Yes. Very good. Thank you so much, everybody. That's fascinating. And there's a lot around neurodiversity there and being able to reveal your personality, which I think brings me on to Jessica Stiff's amazing question, which is around neurodiverse skill sets. So there's been a lot of recognition on the need for employers to recognize diverse skill sets and passion in people and what have you. But how can you actually bring those two together? And I think probably, Tom, it's a good one for you to quickly answer just very high level what your platform does, because I think it is quite unusual in that respect. And then I'm going to ask Puja a question.
So starting point allows people to showcase interests, personalities, traits, passions, like I said, using media for want of in like a simplistic form. It came from the background. I've got a couple of neurodiverse kids. One's really academic, gets told how brilliant he is all the time. One is less so, gets told how he needs to try harder. One's full of confidence, one isn't, and the one who isn't is actually miles more employable than the one who is really academic. And I think it's just the idea about being able to like see people for who they are, because that's what it is, isn't it? And I think simply, and I put to everybody, either on the panel or anybody watching, if you think of the 3 best people you've ever worked with, and you thought about their best quality, none of them would put that quality on a CV.
Yeah. Oh my God, what a great, just made me think of that. I'm going to have to write that down to remind myself again, some of those simple things. You guys have sort of said so lovely little snippets, but that's really at the top. What did that person, why did I like working with them, and what made me think of them? And you're right. You would always start with something about them as a human or something you've heard about them, and then you would then follow, but they're really good at this as well.
Yeah. And the flip side of that, the other side of that as well, is if you think of all the people who inspire us, who motivate us, who we think are wonderfully aspirational, that's from politicians to artists, musicians, philanthropists, none of them took careers advice.
Very good.
So the people we aspire our kids to be didn't listen to careers advice.
Yeah. Very interesting, Tom, and that is why I love your stories. And also, one of your children speaks 40 languages. He's neurodiverse.
He does. Yeah. He does. Yeah.
And he's 15. 15.
He was 15 last Friday. Yeah, he's doing 4 A levels in languages at the moment.
Very good. Very good. So that's why we need your platform to reveal personality. And your 40 languages you can't really get across in the CV. Right, I'm going to ask Puja a question from Tom now, if that's okay, because you've been an excellent chair, but now for you to reflect on your impact and the amazing work you do with Santander and outside of Santander. So Tom's question is around multi-generational teams and in the future, and the fact that unusually now we've got 5 generations of the workforce and an aging population. And you've got tools like what your team work so hard to deliver, and all the panelists and what have you, but like, how do you feel that organizations should and could respond to that challenge of 5 generations?
So I don't know whether you could see into my life, Tom, or earlier on today, or whether it's just the universe aligning really nicely today. But this morning in one of the internal events that I was on, the question was raised around talent and skill set. And I'm going to give it into a perspective around banking, because that's what I spent most of my life in, which sounds quite sad and dull, but there are lots of nuances within that as well. So there was someone that was a fairly senior individual that said, we need to build a skills pipeline, which I thought was a really lovely way of putting it. But then the question is, well, what skills are you looking for? And they naturally went that I need the skills that are of someone that's younger. And I'm going to use the age element here because I think it will answer the question more pertinently. And then somebody else provided a response that said, well, yes, you're going to have to train people and they might know something and they may embrace AI better than another decade category. But that human element and what we do right now, the person that's just starting the workforce isn't going to know about it. So for me, in terms of the organisation that I work for and the teams that I build, I think I always go with, well, what am I looking for? But how does it complement with something else to then drive and deliver the results that we're looking for? So if I think about one thing that we have to do, and there's one thing that we're doing, and it's linked to students. Students currently in all the universities that I speak to all say, do you know what I'd really like? It's just some experience, some exposure to that sector, somebody that I could speak to. And how can they get that? Because the challenges that they've got is the online portals that say yes or no, and it becomes very binary. And when I then think about putting them into something that might require some tech analysis, I've seen this because we've done this with a few students from the University of Edinburgh. Got this really skilled, energetic, curious individual that's coming in, that's trying to solve the simplest problem, but they think it's the biggest problem. But they don't know the consequences. So my favourite word that I'm going to steal for someone that I worked with really closely with at JP Morgan was the so what. So no matter how AI is going to build it in, it's going to take you so far, but you're going to always need that person that's got some experience to give you the so what and the training and the education to evolve and grow into it. And that's how I would think about it from a younger age, and how that complements to people that might have had the career for a little bit longer. And flipping it around, the concept that people talk about of reverse coaching or mentoring, there's always something that you can learn the other way. So there could be people that might go, well, I wish I could do something faster, or I wonder how I could make this easier, or I wonder, this is what I really want to say and I don't know how to do it. And I'm picking an example of PowerPoint presentations. And it could just be the other way, that someone would say, this is how you can prompt effectively, because I've been doing it for years on end because I had to do it at school, or I've done it because I had to learn something else, etc. So I think for me that all the different generations are going to be required, whichever sector that we're going in and whatever phase that we're going in. And I like to be optimistic around this, and I want to be, because I think we need to be. But I think it's, how do you get that balance between a younger skill set coming in versus the experience, the maturity, the lessons learned, and how you bridge the two together and bring that in a real powerful way.
Thank you, Puja. I think you're absolutely right. It's just fascinating listening to all of you, given that you've got some of you in like startups with a billion users, you've got you running like global platforms. You know, the answers are quite similar, even though, you know, you come from very different backgrounds. Catherine Black, just to answer your questions, I think Polly has shared her platform, which is all about amazing micro learning and badges, and Pooja's also a trustee for that organisation. Do check it out. And I would also check out AbilityNet to answer your point on how can you get involved in using your experience to test. I think that's a really helpful opportunity to look at what AbilityNet do in that respect, and also Nasser as well, with his amazing services. And you'll find that a lot of these organisations have a very high propensity for hiring people with disabilities. So you'll feel at home there if that's what you're looking for, which I think your question intimates. But I would just be very loud and proud about it. A lot of organisations now are actively promoting jobs for people with disabilities. And indeed, it's the only form of protected characteristic that you can do that, where you can actively promote for people with disabilities. So go to those organisations. You've got organisations like BT, etc., that are brilliant in this space. Even for me as a supplier, I was asked what reasonable adjustments I would need as a supplier, which is fascinating.
Can I make a quick comment, which is missing from the actual recruiters? They need to know what they're looking for, because the way the traditional, they put your list of requirement, which may or may not be relevant to the job. So having a talent pipeline requires to be specific what you're looking for. The talent is out there, but you're not asking for it. So I think we should train the recruiters to be more specific about why would you want to have a cybersecurity person to have social skills? They don't need it. They just simply want to get on with their job. The same goes for somebody else who's got, maybe he's driving and delivering things, and you need to have like skills about maths and English. So we've got to be very careful of what we're asking for. And if you're specific, plenty of people out there can do it. They just need an opportunity to demonstrate it.
Yeah, I think that's a great response, and something that we hire for more leadership and exec roles, and it's something we are particularly keen on, and encouraging people to share as well, is making sure that it's right from the start of the application process, where people are able to share that they need adjustments as well, to give them every opportunity to show their best. Lauren G's got a really interesting question as well, talking about interdisciplinary roles. And I know we're running out of time, so it might be that we need to get some of these questions after the call has finished, because some of you will need to get off to your day jobs. But the question is around how employers can be supported to understand that a single focus isn't always the best way to approach that. So I think maybe that's a really good question for Polly.
How employers can understand that? I mean, well, I was going to say, I think it's a very good question. I don't necessarily feel I know the answer to it, but I think I agree with it wholeheartedly. I would say they can look at people's digital badges and their micro-credentials and other skills that they have, and that kind of almost like learning quotients, maybe, that you have, that ability to keep learning and that curiosity that we've talked about. But I'll open it up to anyone else if they've got any bright suggestions.
Thank you, Polly.
Well, we live in a very, very fast-moving world, and the practice has to keep up. And that's why I think there is not a single answer. We need to look at what the problems are, and there's a unique solution for them, and have that approach to everything. Recruitment, talent acquisition, retention, they all have a different set of challenges that they can fix using what's available. And AI is really could be a enabler, very big enabler.
It's great.
I think it's about, sorry, Lee, I'll be really quick. I think it's about like feeling that it's a safe space to approach things with the perception you might get it wrong. I think more businesses need to feel safe to approach something from a perspective of, we might not get it right every time, but as long as we're going towards greater diversity, greater inclusion, then we're on the right track. I think there's not to be so risk averse always. I know that's difficult, obviously, Puja, in the financial markets, but like, I think like that idea of, well, do you know what, like, you know, we can try something as long as we reflect on if we've got it wrong, and the reasons we got it wrong, and do better next time. Then I don't think there's anything wrong with, but I think too often we don't try to change for the fear of getting it wrong.
Yeah. And I think because of the consequences of that, because it's linked to people and perception and all that could give, it's a tough one to balance. And sometimes you need to be brave, but brave in a measured way. And to be fair, I think that's what AI is trying to teach us. There's something amazing out there. How do you embrace it and be bold and take all the elements of what you guys have talked about, being curious, trying it, getting rewarded for it, evolving your learning, but integrating that to your day in and day out in terms of your life. And to do that as a different entity that you're not quite sure what that means, what's it doing, and if I try this, and how's the outcome going to be? It's a bit like a test and a learn, but it's in a real environment. It's not you're testing something that's not quite out there in the universe. So it's, I think your other point around how you are, and I think others talked about it, of confidence and you as your nature and your personality and being authentic to yourself. Is how do you bring that? I mean, it's tough enough without AI to do that in the workforce and what you're trying to do. You've now got this new entity that people say it's really smart and it's smarter than most people and it's going to take your jobs away and it's going to do this. So how do you culturally and as human beings develop yourself to still be you, but know how you can interact with all of these things? And I think that's a much deeper question, but I think that's where this conversation's evolved, which I absolutely find fascinating. And I think that these AI conversations are going to go on for years and years on end, until my vision is we're not only going to be managing and guiding and supporting people, but they are going to be these robots. And how do we have an ecosystem that works in harmony, which who knows what that will be.
I think as well, the education system, I think over the next 10 or 15 years, or move more towards a play interaction-based environment and less of a knowledge-based environment, because the knowledge is so easy to access. And I think what you'll then will start to concentrate on people leaving education who you know, have empathy, who are kind, who are caring, who communicate well, and those sorts of things.
Yeah, Tom, I think you're absolutely right. And with that, Polly's had to run for her train, so she's had to go. But honestly, we could talk all afternoon with the impact makers about this subject. Thank you so much to amazing Puja as our chair, to Tom, to Nasser, to our BSL interpreters as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for your support today. Just one of the questions that came up, the very last, was around disability and how can we encourage employers to talk and be encouraged more around inclusion in this space. And we have an amazing panel next week. So we just want to share the slide, please, Ellie, because we have Santander again, but this time at the non-executive level with the amazing David Oldfield, OBE, who I know from my old days at Lloyd's, who's incredible, Caroline, who's equally as incredible from HSBC, and Katie, and also James Tufts from EY, and my co-founder Sarah Weller will be chairing that session, and we're really excited about that session. So please do sign up for that event and follow us on LinkedIn to hear all about that. So yes, thank you so much, everyone. Again, I'm sorry to cut it short. Well, not cut it short. Sorry we've overrun by 5 minutes, but conversation's been so engaging. Please do share what you've learned on LinkedIn, tag in the speakers that you've met today. Keep on making impact. Keep on joining these calls that we have. We try to have them every 6 weeks at least, and do tell others about it. We do run them totally for free for the benefit of everyone. And we've had some amazing organisations join us today, which we'll share with the panelists as well. So thank you so much, and speak to you soon. And anything less from you, Puja?
No, I was just going to say thank you. Thank you to everyone for having such an open and honest conversation. It always makes it a lot easier as a chair when you have that. And thank you for everyone that's joined in. And again, most importantly, Lee, thank you for organising all of this and creating the impact and pushing all of this forward.
Oh, thank you so much. You're very welcome. And yeah, this goes out to 6,000 impact makers. So it's an absolute pleasure to host all you experts, and also experts in the community as well that have been sharing their knowledge. So reach out to each other. Don't let this just be for an hour. Let impact be every day. Thank you so much, everyone.
Take care. Bye.